Thanks, listeners, for joining us. It's time for Elko Live, and today's edition is we go outdoors and explore the beautiful backcountry of our Great Basin with Nevada Department of Wildlife. We have Julie Gabrielson here, our conservation educator. Nicole St. John is on the program with Julie Gabrielson today from Nevada Department of Wildlife, and a whole bunch of stuff to close out the year and a whole bunch to look forward to in the new.
Oh, we do. We've got a lot coming up and a lot going on. First and foremost, we want to talk a little bit about our free youth fishing and hunting license. It's dialed in for 12 to 17-year-olds while supplies last. And the reason behind that is because this whole fund is all it's all contributions from local donors, statewide donors, organizations, individuals that all have, taken a little bit of money out of their pocket and contributed towards this free youth fishing license. The way that it works is any kid, 12 to 17 years old, they can come in and they get their youth fishing license. We didn't want any kind of a cost barrier to keep any of our youth from being able to get out there. If they haven't already done their hunter education, then it's strictly just a fishing license. But once they get that hunter education certification, then it rolls over into being the dual purpose hunting and fishing license. And it's good for a solid year. This year, since we implemented this, 2,306 youth have received this free license. That averages, so Bobby Jones is who came up with this amazing idea, and he's really about statistics, and I love that he breaks things down like this, but that averages one child every 4 hours received a free license this year. Wow. Since it was implemented. 70% of those 2,300 children have never had a license before. So this is a totally new experience for them, and it's all because of donations coming from the public towards this. So if you have any interest in contributing to this fund, because we'll continue doing this as long as we have the donations coming in. So if you have interest in contributing, you can call Bobby Jones. His number in Reno is 775-688-1998. And if you didn't get that number, you can always get a hold of one of us here at the Elko NDOW office, and we can help get you in line with that as well. But they are always looking for additional donations to help continue this fund for the youth free fishing license.
Well, and Julie, I can just think it's like getting your first library card, and it's an affordable donation too, right? It doesn't cost that much.
No, you figure our youth licenses are $15, $20, and so it's really not much. And so even $100, that's five kids out there that get to hunt now or get to fish now on that free license and get that experience. So whatever you want to contribute, you can absolutely contribute to it, and we will. We'd be happy to help you out with getting that dialed in for you.
Cool. Yep. We're doing a weird thing today, just behind the scenes. We're sharing a microphone, so you're going to hear little pauses in between, but I guarantee we're pressing on, as they say. And so the Archery Club is in full swing, Julie. That's our next easy segue here.
It is. We're nice and cozy in here today with this. So our National Archeries in Schools program, we offer an after-school club twice a month for students from anywhere around the region to come in and shoot with us. They not only learn how to shoot, but then they start learning some of beyond the fundamentals of it to the skill set of it, to where they go from just being able to hit the target to really start dialing in and having a lot more accuracy when it comes to it. We do this club with the help of a couple of really great archery volunteers, and it's the first and third Tuesday of every month. We host it at Flagview Intermediate School in their auxiliary gym, and it starts at 5:30 and we finish up at about 7 o'clock on those Tuesdays. It's free. There's no charge for any of the youth to come in. It's open for 4th through 12th graders, and we provide 100% of the equipment. We actually ask that you not bring any of your own equipment because the facility is not set up for equipment further and more advanced than the equipment that we use at it. If you have any more questions about it and you want to get your students signed up for it, give me a call at 777-2305.
Awesome. And that is a perfect segue, as we are talking about, to Hunter Ed classes, because again, it's all about youth and engagement and getting people out to enjoy the beautiful outdoors.
It is, and that's a big part of what Team Nicole and I do is really just that outreach, and part of that is the hunter education classes. January is when we start seeing those classes pick up in numbers. So by late January, early February, you're going to start seeing a heavy schedule in this region that will offer for those hunter education classes. We rely heavily on volunteers with those classes. So once we have our annual meeting with them in early January, they sit down and they fill out a calendar and let us know what dates they're available, and we get everything scheduled. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that the schedule will only show on the calendar to the public classes that are 5 weeks and sooner. So if they're further out than 5 weeks on the schedule, the public's not going to see them. And what that does is that reduces our no-show rate, because then people don't forget that they've signed up for it. It happens, we get busy, school's busy, sports are busy, so we understand. So that's just our way of kind of helping to keep that no-show rate there and keeping the classes full. So just keep an eye on our calendar with that. You can find that on ndowlicensing.com under Get Certified. And when you go in there and look for the education component, it'll show you what classes are coming up within the next 5 weeks for this region anyways. You might see other region classes coming up as well. We do have a class already scheduled for the third weekend in January. So that one is open and ready for registration if anybody wants to get in on that one right now.
Okay. And moving right ahead, again, sharing our microphone today. Lots of ambient noise here in the studio, but hey, it's radio. We make do. That moves us into something that we've already been talking about, Julie, for a couple of months, because it's huge and we don't want anyone to miss out on an opportunity to participate, especially as a vendor.
Absolutely. The Elko Sportsman's Expo is happening again March 2nd and 3rd. That's the first full weekend of March here in Elko. It's at the Elko Conference Center. We are looking for vendors at this point, so we are taking vendor applications and contracts. You can give me a call at 777-2305. We partner with National Wild Turkey Federation, the Ruby Mountain Rios, on this event, and it's really a big and great event. We see several thousand people come through over a 2-day period of time. We offer a really great youth education room, which Nicole here, she plays a big part in keeping that running and set up, and with lots of options of activities in that room, from archery to wildlife t-shirt coloring to fly tying to skins and skulls where they can, pet furs. They can even pet, like last year we had a rosy boa, right? A rosy boa snake, and this was a live snake, not a fake snake, not a stuffed snake. It was there in the reel, and so the kids could interact with it. And we use volunteers for that room as well, and it's really a big hit. And then of course we bring in a ton of vendors that provide fun and adventure in the outdoors that help us just to enjoy it a little bit more.
Cool, yeah. So get in touch with Team Nicole or, of course, Julie, and get signed up. But now's the time to do it, because as it approaches, it really starts to fill up fast. And again, it's a natural fit. You don't have to be a sportsman, just somebody who enjoys the outdoors or wants to find out more about how to enjoy the outdoors.
Absolutely, and that's a big part of what we do, and that's that back room with the youth education. That's a huge component of that back room there. And then we have other informational booths around the event as well that are hosted by NDOW and our partners that can help out with those kind of questions and interests. So, yeah.
It's coming right up. And it's not just about hunting, of course, but getting out and enjoying fishing. There's still a lot of fishing going on. Saw a cool story, by the way. I think you might have it on your list, but how your I think warden or biologist stepped in literally to help out at South Fork State Park with the deer that was trapped on the ice.
I know. That was incredible. Yes. Yeah, that was incredible. That was Quinn. Yes. Quinn Hesterly is one of our game wardens here in this region, and he got called in and helped out on Christmas morning, I believe it was, and was able to get that buck off the ice safely, and just in the nick of time, from what I understood, because it sounds like where the buck was laying and stuck on the ice, that section broke out shortly after they got everybody off the ice, to include the buck. So, but he's in good shape, and he's off doing his thing now. And thanks to Quinn for having such great ideas on how to make it work.
Yeah, definitely. So, and again, it contributes to the safety of ice fishing, and that's why a clinic is important, Julie. Because even though it looks like it's frozen over, it may not be safe.
Well, and that's a big component right now. We're planning an ice fishing clinic for February, but right now the ice is not entirely safe, so there's a lot of precautions to take out there, and we're going to get into that a little bit later in this this talk, but Ice Fishing Clinic is currently scheduled for February 10th, and it will be out at Wild Horse. This is a free event, just like our archery clubs and many of our other components that we provide to the public. All of the equipment is also provided. You're welcome to bring your own to this event, but we do have all of the equipment you need. So if you've never been ice fishing before, you're nervous about it, you don't know if you're going to enjoy it, we can help you out without having much cost at all. Really, the only cost to you is having your fishing license and getting to the lake, to the reservoir to participate. Registration will open in about 2 weeks. For more information, you can call Nicole Hamblin at 777-2388 and get more information on that if you're looking for additional beyond what I've just rambled on about.
You are not a rambler, Julie. We love your program and, of course, all the work that conservation education provides in the community. And speaking of, a lot of outreach with the in-school programs. When the kids get cabin fever and they get antsy, they want to get outside and play. So that's a good segue into what Nicole does, right?
Absolutely.
So, all right.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that we're getting pretty busy. I know everyone's off on break right now, but we're already scheduling for the spring semester. So anything from Know Your Nevada, which is a really cool kind of consecutive 3-week program where we actually go into 4th grade classes and teach about our living state symbols, tie that into a lesson in conservation as well. That's one of our most popular, and we're starting to schedule for that now. So if you have any interest in getting Know Your Nevada into your classroom, please feel free to reach out. And you can reach me, Nicole St. John, at 777-2391. In addition to Know Your Nevada, we're also starting to get into Trout in the Classroom season. That's one of our busier seasons as well. We're actually going to be hosting our new teacher training here in a couple weeks, and that's to get new teachers oriented with the program and their requirements and how to run it successfully in their classroom. But students will be looking at getting the eggs into their actual classroom tanks around early February. So fast approaching here and coming up, and that makes for a busy spring season as well with raising trout in the classroom and getting out and doing those field trips on releases too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in addition to those two, we are super busy with other programming like owl pellet dissections, as have been super popular this year too. We do have some room for a few fish dissections. All of these are currently waitlisted, but if you're interested in getting these into your classroom, please feel free to reach out and we'll get you on that wait list and hopefully get into your classroom soon.
Wow, that's a lot of education opportunity, and I think it signals, the commitment to NDOW getting out, collaborating. You've been at the California Trail Interpretive Center too this last few months, and even especially over the summer, right?
We haven't been out at the Trail Center too much this year. Last year we did some programming out there, but this summer we did something really fun with the Elko County Library, and that was a great hit. Definitely something to look forward to again this summer. And then something else I just thought of too, little advanced, but coming up over spring break, we are going to be hosting Wild Week again. So keep your eyes and ears open for more details to come here in the future.
Neat. And Nicole, we know that those Go Kits are really popular too, especially if you have car trips over the holidays or even, coming up over spring break, right? Grab and go and do a little nature on the road.
Absolutely, and we actually do have a few of those kits left at the office, so if that's something that interests you, this month's theme was track casting. We have a few left. Come on by and pick yours up.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. Of course, Nicole St. John is one of the helpful assistants to the work that Julie Gabrielson's doing with Nevada Department of Wildlife. So we're talking about all these opportunities, and we got through, I think, a lot of what, Nicole, what you wanted to describe. Cool. If you have any questions, especially if you're in teaching and education, you're interested in collaborating, call Nicole at NDOW 775-777-2388. And she'll get you set up. So that brings us to kind of wrapping up some of the game seasons, I guess. Or who's going to be talking about that? That's you, Julie?
It can go both ways.
Okay.
Yeah,
You guys can just chime in.
Yeah, we can both talk about it. So game, January 15th is the last day of most of our waterfowl seasons in this particular region, which is Elko, Eureka, Lander, and White Pine counties. Your dusky, sooty, and rough grouse seasons will end actually this weekend, December 31st, so it's coming up quick. So you got to get your last little adventures out with that. Spring turkey applications are going to open on January 15th and will close February 6th. So you're going to want to get on there and pay attention to that, or pay attention to those dates, because they are going to come pretty quick and they're going to end pretty quick. When it comes to mountain lion harvests, any of our hunters that have successfully harvested a mountain lion, it must be sealed within 5 days of that harvest. So the hunter needs to present the unfrozen pelt and the skull to the department representative. Usually they come into the office to do this, to be sealed. And we also inspect for numerous biological metrics. So sometimes we'll pull a tooth, we'll take a little bit of a tissue sample, as well as measuring, weighing them, and getting all of those metrics in for their survey results. Additionally to all of that, when you're out in the field, really just try to minimize the impacts on our wintering wildlife. This year's been pretty mild in comparison to what we had last year, but they still struggle through the winters. The feed just isn't the same resource that they have through the summertime. And so it's really important that we are very conscientious of what our outdoor activities are doing to the wintering wildlife, and that we're not putting any more impact on them than necessary. So really that's kind of a wrap up on our game division at this point. For right now, their surveys and their captures are going to start picking up here in January and February as well.
All right. And that is leads us into talking about operations. Obviously, things are going on year-round, whether biologists are in, completing, compiling some of the results of their field work, or obviously looking at even hunt surveys, which you need the public's help to participate in those.
Yeah, the hunt surveys are actually a necessity for all of our hunters. So hunt surveys for big game, they must be completed by January 31st. Hunts that run into February, those surveys are due the end of February, so February 28th. Additionally, 2024 registration decals and AIS decals are available now. You can purchase them in the office or even online. January 17th is the first Bobcat seal date in Elko. And you can also still get your federal e-duck stamp at the NDOW office, or you can get the physical stamp at the post office. So those are some of the things that we run into that are pretty common activities at the front office in our operations division. But again, that hunt survey, make sure you get that in so that you don't encounter any kind of a penalty or delay in putting in for your applications when they open up for big game applications in mid to late March.
Okay, perfect. Talking with Julie Gabrielson and, of course, Nicole St. John here with NDOW today, Nevada Department of Wildlife. And law enforcement is also an important aspect of what NDOW does year-round. And as you mentioned, Julie, it is a mild winter, and people might be out and about, whether wildlife watching or even doing something popular known as hunting sheds. But there are seasons for those things.
There are, and it's fairly new to us, so there might be a lot of people in the area that they're just not aware of what those dates are, because it's only a couple years in that we've had this shed hunting season, and the closure for that is fast approaching. As a matter of fact, January 1st through April 30th, in Elko, Eureka, Lander, Lincoln, Nye, and White Pine counties, shed hunting is closed for those dates, January 1st through April 30th. This minimizes those impacts on wintering wildlife that we just talked about. That's a big part of why we created that shed hunting season. Come May 1st, it opens back up. There is a certificate required, a shed hunting ethics certificate, essentially. It's an online course that's free. And then that opens up May 1st for them to be able to start shed hunting. That certificate and taking that test, the ethics test online, usually opens up the beginning of April, where they can go online and take that test and get that certification so they can start shed hunting on May 1st.
Okay, perfect. Now, I'm reading here, sadly, that we've had an issue of some domestic dogs harassing or attacking wildlife. That's really unfortunate, Julie, and there's some serious consequences to that.
There really are, and and it's kind of sad, because I think generally with a lot of these dogs that are at large, it starts out as kind of a game for them. And then it becomes a lot more serious issue, because they're really impacting wildlife and the well-being of the wildlife, and sometimes even wounding and fatally wounding some of these deer that we see in the area. And it is primarily deer that we're seeing it with, but we do see it with other wildlife as well. It's happening quite a bit out in Spring Creek, Pleasant Valley, and Lamoille right now. There actually is an NRS about dogs at large and harassing or killing big game and wildlife. So this is something to be aware of. If your animals are out running loose, you don't have them kenneled up, you don't have them controlled, and they're out there potentially doing this, there are some violations that you will be, fined for potentially, and potentially even worse circumstances than that. So really pay attention to what your dogs are doing and your animals are doing when they're not under your direct visual care, because it does make a difference. Additionally, game warden applications are open. We have several new positions that we're hiring for in our law enforcement division. You can apply on our state website, or you can go to the conservationjobboard.com, and it will lead you to those same job positions. We really encourage that you come out here and you put in for that. If you have any interest in law enforcement, this isn't just your traditional law enforcement job. You're out there, you're exploring in the wilderness and enjoying the landscape, as well as carrying over those typical and not even traditional law enforcement duties, but it's really just a wonderful position to be able to have and make such an important impact on our wildlife.
Yeah, I mean, we heard the story earlier just about rescuing wildlife, and it could be, helping people to better understand or appreciate the sport that they're engaged in, or, sometimes giving directions. I mean, you just never know, right, what the job's going to entail.
Yeah, and no better words could have been said, because you don't know. I mean, one day you're rescuing a deer off of ice, the next day you're investigating a dog chasing a deer. I mean, there's so many different things and different levels that you're going to be encountering in a position like that. So we really encourage, if you have any interest, go check out the requirements and the qualifications that are necessary, and check it out.
And just sitting here with Nicole Hamblin, it reminds me too how encouraged we are that young people are pursuing careers in wildlife conservation, things like becoming a game warden. I'm hoping it's something you'd recommend to young people. You seem like you really enjoy your job, Nicole.
I do. I absolutely love my job. I'm in a slightly different route than a game warden, but that doesn't mean that's a different route is always good. And like Julie mentioned, with law enforcement especially, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get to be out in the field, you get to be in the office the next day, you get to see quite the mix, just a little bit of everything in that position. So.
Thank you. I know we're going to have you come back on and talk more about stuff that NDOW is up to, but Julie, it's just that both of these professional women are an important part of your team, and it's always nice when we can highlight that. I mean, even you in this position in Elko is just wonderful, to see you thriving and really enjoying something that you were volunteering at for so long, Julie. Now it's more of a traditional career for women. We want to encourage everybody to get that out there and enjoy it.
It is. It's. I've said it many times. It's a dream job for me, for sure. And I wish I had known about a position like this when I was in my 20s, but I didn't. I was just uninformed, and I came into this position fairly later in life. Probably closer towards a lot of people's retirement ages. But I'm loving every minute of it, and I'm embracing it. And it's so great to have people like Team Nicole on my team with me, because they're great to work with, and they're so energetic and ambitious, and they've got just amazing, great creative ideas. And I can't speak enough to how great that is, and how that overflows into all of our other divisions as well, because all of our divisions see that same passion to some level or another, and it's really great to see that.
Nice. Yep. And obviously awesome local leadership that inspires a team like this, whether it's conservation, education, and more. And then obviously, did we mention OGT? I know that's always important, because Operation Game Thief can be used by anyone for almost anything if you're out in the field, which is a great resource to have.
It is. And we did get a little sidetracked, so we had not talked about it yet.
Yes. Good. That was my fault.
No, that's okay. Operation Game Thief, 800-992-3030. This is an anonymous tip line. You can also use our NDOW tip app for the same thing. We highly encourage, if you ever come across something that's a little suspicious out in the field, don't approach the people that you might be, curious about. Take down all the information, license plates, numbers, details of the vehicles, or whatever it is that you're seeing, and go to this tip app or call the phone number. Again, you can do it anonymously if that's what you prefer, or you can give full information on who you are. But those tip apps and that OGT really plays an important role on us solving a lot of wildlife crimes that we unfortunately encounter out there.
Mm-hmm. All right. And that takes us to urban wildlife. And as we touched on a little bit, sometimes the interface between, say, domestic dogs and neighborhoods and people. But we are seeing, with this mild winter weather, some of the deer are pretty close to home.
They are. Yes, they are. And especially Spring Creek, Lamoille, Pleasant Valley, they tend to really be close to home there. We frequently even see deer right in our driveway at the NDOW office, right off of East Idaho Street. So they're all around. We live in a very wildlife centric area. So this is something to consider no matter where you live. But if you've noticed increase in mule deer in your neighborhood, it's during the winter months. Residential areas, they typically experience a higher concentration of deer taking advantage of the urban amenities. So, bird feeders, waters. I mean, there's all kinds of things that they'll use. Grass that's still growing through through any little bit of snow that might be on the ground. Remember that intentional feeding of big game is illegal. So no matter how much you're tempted to throw a bale of hay out there for them or some corn or something like that, that's actually detrimental to them in the long run. It can cause gut problems for them as well as dependency problems. And those dependency problems roll over into many other problems. They don't migrate correctly. They might get aggressive if the feed is no longer available. So there's several levels that can, run into when it comes into whether you're intentionally or unintentionally feeding, our wildlife. Bird feeders are actually kind of a catch-22 there because deer are attracted to the bird feeders. They like that seed, they'll eat that seed. So if you still have bird feeders out, which is fine, put them in an area that's a little bit less likely to encourage the deer to come into. If you've got a completely fenced yard, that's a great place to keep them, is in those fenced yards where the deer are less likely to jump the fences and come in. Store any unused hay in a secure area where the deer are less likely to be able to get a mass consumption from it. Bring leftover pet food inside. Don't leave that continuous feed dog bowl or cat bowl outside because it does attract that attention as well. And then again, fence off your bird feeders and store them in a little bit better area where they're not quite as inclined to get to them.
Yep. Those are great deer snacks, unfortunately. Of course, our guest today from Nevada Department of Wildlife, Julie and Nicole, and we're talking about a wide range of topics, some diversity with the Christmas bird count. Again, something that I hope a lot of people got to get out and enjoy. I always love to hear that families go out and participate. And there's still another opportunity, right? Is that something? Oh, Nicole's nodding. I was hoping you'd chime in on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to cover this one for you. So a couple weekends ago, we had our annual Christmas bird count. This is a really cool effort. It actually happens nationwide. It's broken down into what we call circles, which is just basically more of a local area. And I just want to highlight a couple of the counts that we had around the Elko area and some of the cool stats that we ended up getting out of those counts. Friday the 15th was the Ruby National Wildlife Refuge Christmas bird count. That was led by the staff out there at the National Wildlife Refuge. Some of our NDOW staff participated, as well as some additional volunteers. And they recorded 936 birds and 50 different species, including a trumpeter swan, which is a unique observation out there. So that was a really cool one for them. And then the following Saturday, the 16th, was our Elko Christmas bird count. This is led by the Bristlecone Audubon. We did partner with them and led a little NDOW event as well. We had a couple great volunteers participate there, as well as some additional NDOW staff and a number of other volunteers and members of the Audubon. We recorded over 10,000 birds and 67 different species there, so really good count this year.
Wow. That is so encouraging for us nerdy wildlife people because I may not be good at identifying them, but other than large birds, small birds, colorful birds, brown birds, but to hear that there are so many different birds and in great numbers, that's really encouraging because they are an indicator species, right, Nicole? And again, that's why we encourage people to get out and enjoy and count them with another opportunity coming up.
Yeah, and birding in the winter is a great opportunity to get out and do something different, especially when we are kind of having a winter like this with some warmer temperatures. It's a nice way to get out and do a little walk or see what different species you can see out there. In February, we'll have another count coming up. This one's called the Audubon's Great Backyard Bird Count. This is a really fun opportunity. Anybody can participate. This one's going to be held February 16th through the 19th, and it is literally as simple as counting birds from your backyard. So if you'd like some more information on that, you can go to www.birdcount.org/participate for more details on how to participate in the Great Backyard Bird Count.
Cool. And there are a couple of species that you're especially interested in this year, right? And if you don't mind sharing that.
Absolutely, yeah. As usual, the Department of Wildlife is particularly interested in a few species observations, one being the rosy finch. We actually have two species that can be found here in the winter, the black rosy finch and the gray-crowned rosy finch. These are important species for us to know about as we don't know a ton about them, and so we're currently working on some projects to gain a little bit more knowledge about these species. In addition, another species to keep an eye out for is the pinyon jay. We've been working pretty closely with Great Basin Bird Observatory on recording pinyon jay observations, specifically here in the eastern region, to give them some more information on some projects they've been working on and allow our diversity biologists to learn a little bit more about them as well.
All right. Well, fantastic. Again, great opportunity to enjoy and to make a difference and find out more about the nature and the beautiful species in our landscape. And thank you, Nicole Hamblin, one of the members of Team Nicole. Got that right. Yes, we're always safe with Team Nicole. And then switching over too, we've got a couple more topics in today's program. And I also saw on Facebook that new state record yellow perch from Wild Horse. That was a big fish, and for a perch. Yeah,
it was a nice perch. New state record yellow perch from Wild Horse was 1 pound 9 ounces. Now the previous record was actually a tie from two different waters, Wild Horse and Dufferina Ponds, which is outside of Winnemucca, if I remember correctly. And so it beat both of those because they were tied, and so now they're in second. But yeah, 1.9 ounces, which is it's a large yellow perch for sure for our waters. And then area reservoirs, they are partially frozen, and really consider the ice extremely unsafe. I did get a little bit of an update yesterday on Wild Horse that there are some sections that are at about 5 inches in some of the coves, but it's still very inconsistent. So if you're going to be out there, you really need to be smart and safe about it. Anything under 4 inches, we consider completely unsafe. 4 to 5 inches is starting to kind of, I don't know if I want to test it or not. And then 5 inches or more, it starts as it progressively, as it gets thicker, you can get more out onto that ice, from just bodies to, snowmobiles and side-by-sides. And, when you start getting up into 10, 12, 15 inches of ice, you can get vehicles out there. We don't encourage that. We do not encourage vehicles out there. Snowmobiles are about the heaviest that we encourage being out there because you just don't know when you're going to have a hot spring or something up there that's thinning the ice in different parts of the reservoirs. So really pay attention to what that thickness is and really just be smart and be safe about it. We don't want to see any issues out there. For the most part, we don't expect genuinely safe ice until mid-January, early February.
Okay, all right. And of course, that will be an ongoing topic for us as we get together at least once a month to talk about Nevada Department of Wildlife issues. And the last topic that we have today is there's still a lot of work going on. Again, I guess the silver lining of having a mild winter is that it allows for some additional work in the fields.
It does. And they wrapped up, our Habitat Division wrapped up a bunch towards the middle to end of November. But we do have a new Eastern Region Habitat Supervisor. She is backfilling Caleb McAdoo, Marissa Murphy. She started just before Christmas, about a week or two before Christmas, so we're happy to have her on board. But like I said, they are wrapping up several different projects. The Murdoch Mountain PJ removal, which was 453 acres that were hand-thinned in deer migration corridors and winter range, that was wrapped up in November. Also the Wildcat Seedling Planting, total about 56,000 bitterbrush seedlings were planted between the Corda Fire and the Wildcat Fire. 4,000 of those were done by volunteers, which I think we covered back in November as well. But it's really great when we can have a volunteer program that gets them involved and actually see some of the fruits of their labors out there as well. And then 8,000 of those sagebrush seedlings were grown by the Wells High School FFA program, which they've been doing for us for several years. And it's really a great program and a wonderful setup that they have out there. Pilot Peak, they did about 4,000 bitterbrush seedlings that were planted in early November. And some seedling projects in the North Tuscaroras and Pinyon Range are also coming in the next month or so that they're going to start working on.
All right. So it sounds like with both of you here talking about all these different subjects, that there's always room for volunteers. You like meeting with people who are enthusiastic about wildlife and the Great Basin landscape.
And there's a lot of opportunities. We talk a lot about our hunter education and angler education instructors, but we have need for volunteers across the board, from planting seedlings to wildlife education and helping out with trout in the classroom, Know Your Nevada, our wildlife programs, archery education. We really are always looking for volunteers that have any kind of a passion and interest in outreach and just educating not just kids, but even, adults throughout the region. So if you have any interest in being a volunteer for us, give us a call. Nicole Hamblin is our volunteer coordinator, and you can call her at 777-2388. But ultimately, you can ask anybody in the office about it, and they'll direct you to us as well, even if you run into somebody out in the field.
Wow. Thank you. Thanks both of you so much for being here, being on the program, being and a part of this important effort to not only conserve but to really enjoy and appreciate, be great stewards of our public lands, our vast public lands that we all get to get out and enjoy. Looking forward to the brand new year to work on the urban fishery. I know that's coming along, and just the many more projects that we have ahead. So thank you both, and I wish you the best, happiest new year. I know I'll see you back in January.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Yep.